Okay, greetings everybody. SUNSfan here with Jenkins, and we have a little, I guess, clarification, story time, filling in the gaps, because there's a lot of misinformation going out there.
It's a bad intro. Should we restart?
Yeah, we should restart. So I will say, before we get started, this is not what SUNSfan warned you about. That meme is hilarious, but this is not it. Okay.
That's going to haunt you for the rest of your life, dude. That one.
Well, it's not really a haunting. I think it's hilarious. I laugh
Just
every
wait,
time.
dude. 2 years from now, you start getting, oh, is this a Herald pub, Jenkins? It's been 3 years, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's on you. Okay, so let's get started. So what happened? Let's talk about what happened, Jenkins. So Valve has sent an email to all custom game creators that they cannot, that the arcade is going commercial free, aka you cannot monetize any longer. So to our knowledge, that includes everything. Like, we didn't do Patreon, but it includes stuff like Patreon, like outside sources, all that stuff. Not sure if it covers donations or sponsorships, stuff like that. It's unclear, which we'll get to a little bit later. So in conjunction with a bunch of other custom games, we shut our game down. And we want to be clear and transparent about why we did it and what the entire story surrounding it is. Because like I said, there's a ton of misinformation being spread on Reddit specifically. And unfortunately, there's not really a TLDR, because I think there's a lot of layers to this. And I think it's also, like, if we were to make a TLDR, I think it would be a disservice to Jenkins and me and everybody that worked on our game, because this was a shit ton of work. We put in a lot of time, effort, love, semen, etc. into this, especially Jenkins. So let's start from the beginning. So we met with Valve, Jenkins and I. Wait, did you meet? Maybe it was just me, actually, originally.
It's just you. It was just you originally.
All right, originally it was just me. And I do need to be careful, because I don't want to leak things that were in the private meeting at all. I'm just going to say that I met with them before we launched Ability Arena. So we started development October of whatever the hell year that is, September maybe. And then in January, I met with them. So it was still in development, and wanted to meet about monetization in the arcade, because things are weird, and we'll get to that, why they're weird. But before I do, because I'm such a negative person, I made notes here, so I'm reading them. I need to say one thing. I think the people that I talk to at Valve, even though I'm very critical of Valve as a company, the people that I talk to directly are fucking amazing. Like, genuinely. They're empathetic. They're extremely good at their job. For the most part, they want the same things that I do. It's just those people don't seem to have power in the company at all. So it ends
they need to convince the right people that the right thing is like worth the time of the company, which is really hard to do when Steam is so insanely successful and making them bank.
Yeah, and I've talked about this on the podcast that you're a silent partner of course, all the time. But
naturally,
we're not really here to talk about why Valve does the things they do, because we kind of know. But the essential pitch, which I guess I'll let you take, talk to everybody watching what our initial pitch was.
Well, our initial pitch for monetization was, we suggested 2 options. We suggested the harder option to code, but one that I think would be like better for us and players, which is like 3 levels of battle pass: gold, silver, bronze, just like the player packs in Dota. And I thought, like, okay, well, if they have that API in Dota, maybe they can like use a similar thing, custom games, basically. And then you would just get, like, different battle pass rewards for like each of those levels, and obviously the higher level would give you more. And that way, like, there's like levels of players in a game, from what we've seen in terms of monetization, where like there's some people that don't want to put any money in. That's fine. There's some people that will put like a little bit. Or there's actually a lot of people that will put in like a little bit. That's fine. But then there's like the Giga fans that like want the gold thing. So I thought like having 3 levels was a good method for like satisfying everybody, and then letting us like run the game. And from what we've seen from our monetization as well, it's like the treasure chests and all that like gotcha garbage is not even like where we were like making any money either. It was all from like people just buying the battle pass to like support the game. Like a guy would buy the battle pass and like play once a month, but he would still buy the battle pass because he just likes the game.
Yeah.
So that made a lot of sense. Made a lot of sense to us.
So
and the simpler version of that, just to finish off, is one single level of battle pass, which they already have that in the game for. You could buy like a ticket for a custom game before, right? Or like a supporter pass.
yes.
And that was the simplest suggestion that we made.
Yeah.
But they basically said like they had the discussion. They didn't want to like allocate the resources to do that, which is
So this, just keep in mind, you're kind of jumping the gun. This is the pre-meeting. This is before we even launched the game, right? But some of that is definitely relevant. So the essential pitch to TLDR, this section at least, is
the original. Okay, yeah, sure.
We wanted to, like, we don't like the we call it the Wild West of monetization in Dota. We don't like the way it was, or is, I guess. And we were like, just letting Valve know, hey, we want this to actually be like almost a revitalization of the arcade. Like, we wanted to start a new revolution of the arcade to make things more legit, because we came in, and you can see with the polish of our game, like, we put in a lot of effort and time on it. And we told them we don't like the way that it's currently working, because there's a lot of sketchy shit going on. There's a lot of pay to win and all that stuff. And again, I'm not going to leak exactly what they said, but effectively, they understood what was happening. Obviously, they're fucking Dota devs, and they just weren't able to allocate resources to change anything. So in the end, like with all the pitching that we had done, like all the plans that we had to kind of rethink the way we wanted to do monetization, which is why we ended up doing like chest opening stuff that we honestly didn't want to do originally. Like Battle Pass is cool, like you said. I think that kind of stuff makes a lot of sense regardless. Because, and we'll get to the thing that you said a little bit later as well. So anyway, that was kind of shut down. So like, okay, I guess we got to kind of copy what other people are doing to a degree. And there's something very important distinction that should be made, because I know that Reddit is a certain segment of the audience that is not the whole picture. It is for us because we're Westerners, right? So the way that I look at it, there's 3 segments in the custom game scene. This is simplifying it a bit. There's China, which make a shit ton of money. Like, I'm talking millions of dollars a year, or maybe even per month for some of these arcade games. And they're pay to win. A lot of them are pay to win. And the reason they're pay to win and they can get away with it is because obviously there's a Wild West mentality where you can do anything you want with no repercussions until now. But also because culturally, the Chinese players literally want pay to win. It's part of their culture somehow that you buy a bunch of shit to make your character better, or whatever the case may be for these games. And that's almost like a status symbol, right? So that's one segment of the audience. It's a huge part. That's actually like 90% of probably the money in
Dota. In Dota, yeah, it's like all China, pretty much.
So then there's Russia and like Eastern Europe, which is kind of its own segment where you can't really give money because of the war that's going on. They have some pay-to-win stuff. And then there's everybody else, the third segment. And that is the segment that we tried to cater to. Not very profitable, but that's
not a profitable enterprise.
And of course, that audience doesn't like pay to win, and neither do we. That's why we don't have anything pay to win in our game. We have 2 characters. I think we have 2 gods in our game that you can't obtain with anything but money. So of course, there's going to be a few people that come in like, that's pay to win. Win rates were not good on these gods. It was definitely not pay to win. It's just 2 paid characters. The rest you can obtain relatively easily just by grinding the game. So that's the audience that we tried to cater to. We wanted to revitalize the Western scene of the custom games because so much of it was going to China and then Eastern Europe. So that was kind of the idea behind doing Ability Arena. So we spent about 9 months developing the game. You want to briefly talk about how difficult it is to make a game in Dota? Even if, like, because people look at it like, it's a custom game, surely it's easy to make. Because I used to do it in Warcraft 3. speaking for myself, literally Warcraft 3, I made maps, and one of them was actually kind of popular for a while. I know nothing about game design. Well,
okay.
Let me rephrase. When it comes to the tools, game designer, I suck.
Of course, naturally.
Yes.
Okay. I want to make this very clear because I think, I mean, a lot of the people that are making the comparison to Warcraft 3 are, number one, underselling how brilliant Warcraft 3's map editor was. This is one of the greatest games that has ever been made, and it spawned so many fucking games from this map editor because it was so good. So you're comparing to literally the best one. Also, at that time, like, I'm just to the audience, like, how old were you when you played Warcraft 3? Because I guarantee you most people were teenagers. You know what teenagers have a lot of? Time. So people are much more down to do passion projects when you're a fucking useless teenager that's just going to school and then coming home and grinding your Warcraft 3 map editor. I know that's what I did. And then also the Dota editor is like they basically just released their internal engine, which means it's like, you know, go look up what a Unity developer costs, for example. It's about this. It's like the same as that. A Unity, like, there are companies that, you know, make entire games in Unity, have 50 employees, and they all do a specific thing in Unity in an editor. So it's like people don't realize how it took us, like, we had like 15 programmers working on this. A few of them like pretty much full time to get Ability Arena out. And I think there's definitely some mistakes we made as designers that we could have made it easier for them to make things quicker. But I don't see a game that's like polished not taking, you know, that many people and like writing lines of code. It's like, this is not like Warcraft 3 where we have like the trigger editor. It's like these people are literal coders. Like we have people that like, we have a guy that like works at Google who's just doing it for like passion because he just loves Dota. And he, like, you know, contacted us on Reddit, and he's like, I wanna like help you guys. Like, that's a lot of our coders. This is people we're like underpaying because they just love the game. So we actually like save money just because people are passionate. People totally underestimate what goes into making a Dota custom game. Obviously, if you're talking like the shit stuffed ones, like Don't Touch the Frog or whatever that game is, like, sure, but like that's not a real game. You're gonna play that for like 30 seconds and get bored.
But part of the, like, you're talking about how hard it is to make the games, like talking about particles in Dota and UI in Dota specifically, there are so few people in the entire world that are able to they actually know how to do that. Like, I've worked with every Western particle editor, and there's 3. Literally, there's nobody else with that skill set because it's so niche. And then Panorama, which is the UI, very difficult to actually be able to learn because it's different than all the other ones that you use for every other game. So, like a lot of these niche skill sets that are needed to make. So anyway, back to the story, I guess you can call it. And actually, I guess we should be transparent about how much money we've made. We've lost money on this game. So we put in a very large chunk of initial investment.
Okay, should we just say it? I mean, at this point, what's the point of not saying it? The number.
Okay, go ahead.
We have spent about 250,000, and we probably made like 200K. So between us, we've like lost 50K out of pocket, and we didn't pay ourselves. Like, me and SUNSfan didn't take a cent from the project. Like, all of the money was like spent on paying our developers. Like, we paid them some bonuses and stuff as well to people that, you know, did a really good job, that we like felt that it was right. And we were like, if we can afford to pay ourselves eventually, we'll do it. But it never got to that point. And like I said before, I think there's stuff that we could have done differently to make it cost less. I think there's stuff we could have done to make more money, but that would involve doing like pay to win bullshit, which we didn't want to do. We like had a hard line there. But I think the narrative that like custom games are like out there making fucking bank and that they don't cost a lot of money is not reasonable. And you know, you could argue like, oh, we're just really inefficiently like spending our money. It's like, I would say, sure, okay, like we're maybe like him and I are incompetent, right? But our programmers are like, we've got senior devs, man. Like, these guys like know what they're fucking doing. And it's like, I don't know how you can skip the code review and the refactoring, and, you know, like when a Dota patch is released, like you gotta go through like thousands of lines of code to like fix shit. Otherwise, like the game crashes for people. Like, there's a lot of, I will say it's been a humbling experience for me because I didn't realize how much went into developing a game. It's a lot more than you expect, even as like a custom game within another game.
Okay, so let's get on to what actually transpired here because we have the inside knowledge, and this is not private because it happened to us. It's not like through Valve or anything like that, at least not initially. So, God, how do you paint this picture? This is the part that's ridiculous. Oh
shit!
Let's see if I can.
I can tell this story if you want, because
No.
I haven't told this.
No, I will tell this story.
Okay.
So
I see.
As you guys know, there's not really matchmaking in Dota in the arcade. Like we have to in terms of matching people up together, it's just all just flooding together, right? There's nothing we can do. It's literally not possible. But we do have a rank system because people like the badges and whatnot. And this is the hilarious thing about this story is that we offer a lot of stuff in our game that other games don't within the Dota ecosystem because we're just really passionate. We think it's really cool. So having a website, for example, not many, if any, I don't even know, of these custom games have like fully fledged websites where you can equip your items, all that shit right then and there. Like that is something we wanted to do because we, as gamers, we would want to be able to have access to something like that. So part of that system is providing a special Discord group for our immortals. So you get to an immortal rank, which you grind, it takes some time. And then when you get immortal, we have to be able to verify that you are immortal. And we just didn't have the time or resources to make something that was automated. So we had a volunteer make a system in Discord where if somebody gets to immortal, this story, by the way, this is going to get somewhere. Just trust me. When somebody gets to immortal, they need to take a picture, screenshot of the website showing that they're immortal so that the volunteer could verify and then give them access to this special channel which immortals have, right? Access to. So a lot of times people will mess this up and just take a screenshot of the wrong thing or whatever, and you can't verify if they're actually immortal if they're just trying to fake their way in. So a person comes in pretty aggressive saying that they want access to, I'm not going to name their name, by the way, even though small part of me really wants to.
I know you want to.
There's a part of me that is petty, I won't lie. So this person comes in our Discord very aggressive saying that they want access to this channel, and they post the information and they did it incorrectly. So our volunteer tells them that they didn't do it correctly, so they just need to read it. And this happens all the time. They just re-upload it and it works. So he starts getting, I would say violent, but it's through text only. Starts issuing death threats, threatening everybody, me included, and Jenkins, and the volunteer. Things that are just beyond not acceptable. And I was not awake at this time. So if I was awake, instant ban, like no questions asked. So what ended up happening is he started threatening after this that instead of just correcting what he did to get access to this fucking meaningless channel, he threatens us with a GDPR complaint. So for people that don't, what does that actually stand for? Actually, I should have looked that up.
I don't know. Remember what it stands for, but it's like the European privacy laws, basically. Like, so essentially, they require that, like, if I go to Facebook, for example, like, there's a link on there where I can get them to delete all my data. Otherwise, like, Facebook would not be available in Europe. Like, all websites, if they want to be available in Europe, have to like abide by this. Otherwise, there's like fines and stuff. And same with games.
General
that's
data,
all we needed to do.
General data protection regulations. So essentially, like in Dota, you have a thing that you can disable for stat tracking, right? In our game, and in literally no other custom game, you don't have that because it's the Wild West, right? Didn't even know this was a thing. So he threatens to report us for GDPR violations, and I'm like, okay, you're free to do whatever you want. So I wake up.
Go ahead.
I instantly ban him from Discord because death threats are not okay. And keep in mind, if you want GDPR enabled on your account, because we're a custom game, we don't have access to everything. That means we can't track anything you do anymore. Meaning we can't track your rank, we can't track your cosmetics. So I delete all his cosmetics and I reduce him to Herald from Immortal. Because if you're going to have GDPR enabled, that's going to happen anyway. We can't keep track of that shit regardless. So the thing that he's asking for...
It's just a big ego hit for him.
Yeah, the thing
you just know that hit his ego so hard.
The thing that is ironic is that the thing that he's complaining about, which is an empty threat in some ways, actually hurts him directly, right? So that happens, and I think that's that. We look into the GDPR thing, and they're like, nobody else is doing it. I don't know how hard this would be to implement as an actual option. et cetera, et cetera. So going forward, we receive an email from Valve legal team saying, we have gotten a complaint about GDPR guidelines. You guys need to take care of this. So I look at it, and I genuinely think this is a fake email, potentially from that person, because it's coming from Germany. Like, Valve doesn't have offices in Germany. That doesn't even make sense. Like, so at first I think it's fake. So I wait a couple days, and I get another email saying, I see that you're monetizing Dota in your game. You need to shut down your game immediately. And I'm like, holy shit. So then I start contacting my Valve contacts and ask them, is this real? Because this person's based in Germany. I don't understand what's going on. And after a day or so, he's like, yes, this is real. And then I'm like, holy shit. So apparently Valve have like
their legal team is in Germany.
Yeah, their legal team is in fucking Germany. It's completely separate from, everything that they do in Seattle. So we have this confirmed that this is real. So now we're panicking, obviously. This was a few months ago, by the way. So now we're panicking, like, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, so I emailed them back, like, we will obviously abide by what you guys decide to do, but just keep in mind that literally every playable game, for the most part in the arcade, has monetization. This legal team had no idea that this existed. So, to put it simply, Valve Dota devs have obviously known this has been happening for quite a while because they work on the game, and they're just kind of turning a blind eye to something that we all know was sketchy, right? That we wanted to actually redo in a more official way, but they just didn't have the resources to do it. And this legal team stumbles upon it as if they've found something brand new that hasn't been happening for literally a decade, right? So now that they're aware of it, something has to be done. And honestly, other than like the initial panic that we felt, we're like, thank fucking God, this is what we wanted to begin with. Now that the legal team's involved,
good news.
We can actually make this more legit. Like, we can. So we have a meeting with Valve and like,
Steam dollars, baby. We can get those Steam dollars.
So Jenkins and I meet with Valve, and this is where you kind of took over from earlier. We suggest a few paths to be able to monetize the game. So, like you guys may or may not know, there's a pass system already in Dota. It's in auto chess and a couple other mods. It's literally $1. But it's using Steam dollars, so people can just pay $1 and they get whatever the cosmetics or whatever comes with it. It's like a monthly pass kind of thing. It's almost like Dota Plus, but specifically for this mod. And I think Valve keeps probably like 30% or whatever it is. So this has been in the game for like 6-7 years or whatever it is. It's been a while. So like, let's take that system and just create the extra branches like you brought up earlier. So you have the $1 version, a $5 version, $10 version, and it's all cosmetics.
Yep.
Nothing gameplay related anymore. Like this should be easy to do because it literally exists in the game already. And Valve gets their cut. And keep in mind, like us, the way that we had to do it, which again, we didn't want to do monetization the way we were doing anyway. But having to keep track of payments ourselves, I cannot tell you how fucking awful it is. You have to use PayPal, Stripe. You have to worry about laws in other countries. You can't take Russian payments. People dispute shit all the time. Like, we'll have like these, normally the purchases are microtransactions, like $5-6. Occasionally, we'll get a really big purchase, like $100. Like, holy shit, somebody spent $100. And then a month later, they dispute it as a fraudulent claim. This has happened 15 to 20 times now, which is bad for the reputation of the business in terms of like what Stripe and PayPal are looking at. So it's like a constant ding on us, even if it is legitimate. And it's just a fucking general annoyance for me. So like the payment system was just like, so knowing that the legal team's getting involved, like, wow, being able to use Steam dollars will literally fix everything for us. So we go in with this pitch.
It also means we could have stuff in game instead of going to like a scuffed website as well. Like there's so many layers to it that would make Steam dollars like, man, I was excited. Like that would solve so many friggin' problems for us.
So we pitched that idea to them. And we remind them that, we were really prepared for the meeting. We remind them that, their entire company is, other than Steam itself, is based off of mods. Half-Life is not a mod. That's an original creation by them. Portal, which I didn't know until a couple days ago. Apparently, it was originally a mod that somebody else made, and they just bought them. But obviously, Counter-Strike, Dota, Left 4 Dead was a mod. Like, everything that they've done and have been successful with pretty much started out as a mod. That's why this entire ecosystem is really important. I thought that they'd be able to relate to that. And again, people that we talked to were very receptive, and they're just people. They're just people making decisions on the higher up that don't agree with this in some way, which we can get to the perspectives down the line here. So, let's see, what are my notes here? So yeah, that's basically the story. And then they came back saying that they don't think they're going to have the time or the resources to do what we want. So then we go with like a last ditch effort. And we're like, okay, if you can't do the tiered system, then give us just the literal thing that's in the game right now, which is the pass, and just increase it to like $5 instead of $1.
$5, not $1.
Just change one digit. We can make it work. Like, we're not going to make a shit ton of money off it, but maybe we can cover our expenses and continue on. And they said no. So that's when we knew, and this was 3 months ago that we learned of this. So obviously that was a shock. I thought that was, like, again, we thought of it as good news that finally this is coming to a head, because this was an inevitable thing. People have been waiting for the arcade to crumble like this, which can then be rebuilt into something new, but not in the vision that we originally thought. So yeah, we were expecting this to happen at some point, maybe not this soon, but we thought we could get support, but instead it's kind of being abandoned to a degree. So the only thing that could fix it is the community. That's the only time that Valve has done like a complete 180 on a decision. Like, example, the Dota 2 tutorial. Slacks came out with Kickstarter, then within a week, Valve announces a tutorial. That's a 180 situation. So we were hoping for something like that, but each mod is different. Perception is different regionally, and people are very against the whole idea of pay to win, which I don't think applies to us at all. I'll say that emphatically.
We are also against it. There are good guys out there. It's not just the bad guys.
So yeah, we decided to shut the game down. And I will say that some of the custom games that ended up shutting down have reopened again because they panicked based on just Reddit response. So I think like some of the Arcadia Redux games are going to stay up but not be updated anymore. So they're just going to die slowly. The Chinese mods, I know one of them said that they're going to continue updating. We'll see if that's true. I think there is a certain level of copium, let's call it. And I tried to make this clear to the other developers, but maybe it gets lost in translation, that we've had like direct conversations with Valve, and we know that the only thing that can change their mind on this is the community. But there's some Chinese mods right now and some other mods that think that they can talk to them and change their mind while keeping the game up. And the reason that this taking of mods down was important is to kind of get this ball rolling a bit and just show everybody what this will end up being long term. But instead now, it's going to be like a trickling effect where mods will slowly die, not be updated. They will not be high quality anymore. And it's just going to be a longer process instead.
I mean, there's definitely not going to be any new mods, I can tell you that much. Making one from scratch is very expensive. Unless you're talking like really scuffed ones.
Yeah. So again, like you can have one developer that like puts all their time and effort into it, and God be with them. Enjoy. But what we tried to do was make, and I'll just say this, like maybe this sounds a bit pompous of me, but regardless of whether you liked Ability Arena or not, I feel very strongly that in terms of polish, it is the most polished game in custom games, period. Like we put so much work to make it like almost like it feels like a standalone to a degree, right? And that does not come cheap, I'll tell you that. So let's end this video. So first of all, I want to empathize and say sorry for everybody that feels like or is very sad about the entire situation around Ability Arena specifically. I know it comes as a shock. Like we went through this same phase. So we understand how you feel and we appreciate your support. You guys have been fucking like this has been the coolest project probably I've ever worked on. I don't know how you feel, Jenkins.
Same, dude. 100%. 100%. Best year and a half of my life, bro. Honestly, having a community is like insane. People that care about your thing you made. That's why we didn't pay ourselves. We just like that. That just feels good.
Yeah. So I will say I know that because this came as a shock to us in terms of because we were expecting, like I said at the beginning, we're expecting an email saying, you have 2 weeks to take stuff down. That would allow us to, take off monetization immediately and then let people continue on with their plus and all that stuff. But obviously that didn't come to be. It was just an immediate thing, which we're not prepared for. So if you've purchased something in the last couple weeks and you want a refund, just contact us at contact@abilityarena.com. Make sure to include your full Steam ID and then whatever you purchase, which we'll be able to verify quite easily, and we'll refund you. We don't give a shit about that. Like that's not really like obviously we want to be able to make money off of this, but clearly we haven't. And that's still okay because it's been a fucking awesome experience. Like we learned so much. So let's talk about the future, I guess. So first, we're looking into options to keep things potentially back up for Ability Arena without updating it, but we're not sure what the rules are on like sponsorships or donations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can kind of talk here.
Sure.
Like the idea is like something along the lines of like like Tortellini on his guides, he has like GGBet and Rivalry. I think sponsors like Immortal Faith or whatever. So I feel like the precedent is set in Dota that they don't really mind if there's like ads in the game essentially, because it's not like because to be very clear about like what the Valve legal team's position is, once they explained it to us, we actually understood. They basically said like they need to protect their intellectual property. Otherwise, like a mobile game can go steal like the Pudge model and be like, hey, look, these guys are like monetizing with the Pudge model. Like, why can't we do it? And then like that would be a pain in the ass for them in court. So I kind of understand that. What was I talking about again? I was talking about the fucking legal shit. Yes, sponsors, of course. Thank you. So yeah, with sponsors, we were thinking of getting like, I don't know, just some banner in the game, maybe some sort of like you click to a website, I don't know, click to a website to like sign up for tournaments like ePolls or like Gaming Gladiators or some fucking tournament website like that. But that would require us to like talk to the right people, have them actually be interested and have them. It's worth their while to like give us enough money to upkeep the game, because I genuinely think like to upkeep the game with like decent patches where we add and remove spells and we do balance and we do like fixing like glitches and stuff like that. I don't think that is like that expensive. It's like you still have to pay developers and stuff, so it obviously comes at a cost, servers and stuff as well. But it wouldn't be like that much. It just means we wouldn't be able to do like the big patches that we'd like to do, where we add like brand new features to the game, we add gods. Like it would pretty much stay the same game with like number changes here or there, which I think is honestly like way better than nothing. But like I said, it requires the right sort of like sponsorship where it's like actually worthwhile for them. Which I don't know if that's possible. And then also I don't know if Valve would allow that if we did start doing that. Like maybe that would be the same thing where they email us and it's like, yeah, we didn't intend for this. That's also possible.
So a couple other notes, and then I actually want to do a Q&A with chat just for a bit in case we miss stuff, because even though I do have notes, there's just so many layers to this. So right now, I think the consensus on Reddit, again, this is only Reddit, but this is what we base a lot of our stuff on, so it's understandable why we're talking about it so much. They're really happy about the state of affairs. They're celebrating what just occurred, which, some perspective, I can understand why they would feel that way because of the whole pay-to-win stuff for some of the mods. But I do think that in whether it's a few months or a year from now or whatever, like if you look at the before and after, it is going to be a complete, like the arcade is going to be a complete shell of itself. And I do think that I mean, like we talked about with modding in the past with, Half-Life and all that, and Warcraft, I think the arcade is extremely important. I mean, it's the rise of one of the biggest fucking new genres in esports right now, or in gaming, which is auto chess and auto battlers in general.
Yeah.
So I think in the end, it's, this is just our perspective, but in the end, it feels like a shame because Dota as a community is kind of losing a legit Dota arcade company, because that was our original plan, and it is what it is. But I will say this: it could be a blessing in disguise. Not for the arcade. I think that's doomed, personal opinion, of course. But for us, because I think it's finally pushed us to do something outside of Dota, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing because it does feel like we're getting pushed out of something that we love. Like, we've literally dedicated our lives to Dota. Not like I'm leaving from every aspect of like casting and all that shit, but it feels kind of bad to be forced out in a way. But at the same time, it allows us to do something like a standalone. It's a lot more work, very daunting, very fucking scary.
Are we talking about it at all here?
Yeah.
You want to just get into it?
Yeah, we don't need to go specifics, but generally we do want to create a new game outside of Dota. We'll probably have a Kickstarter at some point. We're looking for funding / publishers. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all.
We've talked to some publishers, and the interest is, I mean, I don't know, because we're not good businessmen, but we're trying, man. The interest, I would say, generally is good, and we've been told by people who have been published that the numbers are a lot, like most games that are looking for like publishing, they don't have like, they have better CVs in terms of like, they've got fucking guys that were like CEOs at random gaming companies, but they don't have like a game that already has an audience. Like, they're going in with like just an idea. So for us, we're looking to do like a port, but we have some ideas for simplifying the mechanics, because in Dota we have the like advantage / disadvantage that there are 250 spells in ability arena, and everybody knows all of them because that's Dota. Everybody knows all the spells. But if you don't play Dota, you can't play ability arena because you don't know all the spells. So I think that we can make a game that's more accessible to a wider audience, because it will have way less spells, and instead we're gonna have some systems in there to still maintain the same like diversity and the identity of ability arena. It'll be the same game, just like simplified. The games will also be shorter. It'll be on mobile as well as PC, hopefully. But yeah, we have a lot of ideas floating around. We've talked to a few people. Some people are interested, but we're still
Early
vetting
stages.
our options. And early stages. We're definitely doing a Kickstarter regardless, because we, at the very least, feel like we want to have some like influence from the current community that we have. And then also, if we do a Kickstarter and people actually want to like help us fund the game, then it's like less, more control that we have over the game, rather than like a publisher having demands, and we have to do this thing by like this time. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Never made a fucking standalone game before, but we're gonna do it. We're doing it. We're doing it live.
We will try. Okay, so 2 more small things that I want to mention, then we'll do a quick Q&A. I do want to talk about this mentality on Reddit for specific people. It's like an entitled type of mentality that everything needs to be free on. We did brush up on this a bit earlier, I guess, in terms of everything should be free. Dota is free. Why can't everything within Dota be free? So I think this is a kind of a weird mentality from my perspective, because how many games are like Dota that are just free and the only thing you buy is cosmetics? Like, there's probably a couple, but in terms of like big successful games, by the way, Counter-Strike's not one of them. You had to buy that originally. They changed their stance. The reason, so let me ask you this. Not many games are like Dota in that aspect, especially not ones that are huge. Why could Valve do that?
Are you asking me?
Why do you think they could do that?
I mean, I mean, part of the reason is because it promotes Steam, and they make a shitload of money through Steam. Dota was one of the biggest games on Steam for a very long time. A lot of people I downloaded Steam for Dota.
That's right.
So
They
that's
literally
a
print
huge part of it.
money. It's a $1 billion company. And I think it's not fair to compare $1 billion company monetization strategies to people that are making custom games. You can not like pay to win, and you can be angry about that. That's fine. We're not big fans of that either, like we said. But I think the idea that everything should be free, depending on how much work you put in, disagreed. Especially when it's like super high polish, super high quality. And then the last thing I want to mention is something that people have been doing on the Dota Arcade for quite a while that they're threatening to do for our game and other games, is that they'll just copy paste it and literally take our game and put it as, their own, essentially. I've talked to Valve about that in the past, and they said that if somebody does that, we can DMCA them. So that will be something that we will do, because that's not okay. Somehow this conversation has gone to piracy, and somehow people are saying that's good.
I don't know. I don't know any person. I don't know any person in my life that has ever said plagiarism is good. That is just like an unbelievably. I don't know. That's some insane opinion, dude. It's like if I heard that one of my friends like copied somebody else's like essay at school, I'd be like, well, that's a bit of a bitch made move, you know? Like, I get it, it happens, but like, you're still a bitch for doing that.
Yeah. So anyway, I know that's a vocal minority that's saying stuff like this, but I did want to mention that. Okay. So with the chat, if you guys have any questions, we'll just do this for like 5 minutes maybe, because this video is running long, but in case we miss stuff, and let's see if we have any questions that we can answer.
Do you think Valve will care in several months? Hard to say, because the question is like, who is Valve?
Where are you going? The fuck did you?
Bro, I can still hear, man. All right, I made how much.
That's coming from a message from the guy that made 1x6 actually, so that's a pretty big mod. I think his is down right now. No, I don't think they will. So
I guess a 1x6 guy. Oh shit, man, that's like the biggest mod on Dota.
So I guess we can talk about Valve's perspective of it. Like, there's the legal aspect, which is understandable, and then, I mean, not to be negative, but obviously, like from TI and all this other stuff that's happening, things are downscaling in Dota in general. So the Dota team is not as big as it used to. And I think they're being truthful that they just don't have the allocation or the resources to allocate to do what they. But I do think that the amount of work needed to do the stuff that we wanted would be very minimal, right? I think the biggest thing would be to have somebody sort through the custom games and accept or deny them. Which, knowing Valve, that kind of stuff is annoying to them. So on some level, it's not a surprise, I guess, in hindsight. We considered Unreal or Fortnite. We considered Unreal, but we're going with Unity for reasons, I guess, that maybe Jenkins can discuss. But
well, we went with Unity because Unreal is in C, and that requires which is very fucking. So we decided to go with something easier, and we also have a few devs that are comfortable, like a few people on the team that are comfortable with Unity. So
okay,
all right,
I think we're good. All right.
Okay.
So thanks everybody. Appreciate you guys listening to us. I know this video is a bit long. Hopefully that clears a lot of stuff up. Again, thanks for all the support. This entire situation, I don't think it's black and white at all. There's definitely a lot of nuances to it, but just wanted to give our perspective because we feel like we tried to do something really cool. I mean, we did. We did something. I think I'm really fucking proud of the game we made.
I'm proud. I'm proud of it.
But obviously, the way that it's gone out now is a bit sad. Hopefully, things can change in the future, but we'll see. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
See you guys.